Hey folks, Professor K here. We're continuing the idea generator tutorial. What I'm trying to do is go and get my bookmarks from the raindrop.io API and bring them back so that I can create an idea generator for you to work with after this class. And the part that I'm at now is trying to actually go and fetch data from the API using authorization. Let's get started. All right, so what I've done so far is I've set up my GitHub repo. I've set up Tower to use Gitflow, and I've started a feature branch in Tower over here to add authorization. In fact, I'm seeing that I've forgotten to commit my last set of changes. So I think now would be a great time to do that. I'm going to commit everything except this .env file itself. And I'm going to commit this as adding .env for security. And you might be like, well, Professor K, why are you committing everything but the .env file? The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to ignore .env. In that .env file is my OAuth token, and it would be really bad if I let that out into the wild, right? So it's a good security practice to keep your variables in there, but also to make sure you don't commit them to GitHub. Very, very important. So what you can do is add them to what's called a git ignore. Here, this .gitignore file says what Git should ignore, right? So here, we're going to do update git ignore. And that way, we won't have any problems with accidentally committing our OAuth keys up to Git and pushing them up to GitHub where people can see. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to take just a moment to set up my personal code so that I have the proper authorization token in place. That will allow me to show you the rest of the tutorial. Hold on just 1 second. All right, and we're back. So what I've done here is I've updated this .env file with my proper OAuth access token. Remember that you can get that in your API generally by going to wherever you've set up your API access token and just getting it from there. So there'll usually be some settings and it'll be on developer apps or something like that. In raindrop.io, that's what you're going to want to use here. Now, where we last left off, we used process.env.OAuth token, or whatever you name the variable in your .env file, in order to actually get to that token. Here, we're console logging that. I don't want to do that right now because if I accidentally do that, you're going to see my OAuth token. And again, I don't want you to see that. So I'm just going to leave this here and comment it out. But I do want to keep this around so that when I go to make the fetch call, you can see it. So I'm just going to save this right now. Again, don't console log your stuff out. That's really important. That would be a huge security problem if you were just logging out your OAuth token. So don't do that. All right, so now that I've done that, I want to start my idea generator running up again. So I'm going to do npm run start. And while it runs, I'm just going to write a real basic fetch call here. So remember that that is fetch. And then in parentheses, this is going to be a URL. And this is just going to pop open with the student site boilerplate. When it's done building, we'll come back to that in just a moment. And I like to indent these just to make it a little easier to read. So then with response, we're going to give response over to the function. And we're going to say with response, do response.json. Let the computer know that we're processing it as JSON. Remember this equals, and that is called an arrow function. So this is just another way of writing a function. So that's all we're doing is with the response, passing it on to a function. And then remember that .then with the data that comes back, arrow function, console.log data. All right, so we're not fetching anything here yet. We do know our boilerplate is working. No errors that I can see in the terminal, so we're up and on to a great start. Next, we need to do two things. We need to identify where we want to fetch from, and then we also need to figure out how to get our authorization in. Let's try the first thing, identify where to get our fetch from. So let's just go with one of the first options in our API here, collections. I want something that's going to be really easy to make a call to, that I don't have to provide an API for or anything like that. So here's collections. Let's see what we've got in here. We've got collection methods. Sometimes I just click around until I find that URL. Here we go. All right, so it's under methods. Get root collections. Here's the API root REST v1 collections. So this is perfect. I'm gonna actually just get that because if I look down here, some of these other ones require IDs and I don't have that information yet. Let's pick a really nice, easy URL to start. So I'm just gonna see if I can get my collections. I'm gonna save this, let this compile, and this is going to give me some warnings, but that's okay. This is all just linting stuff. We can fix that later. Not a huge problem. Let's go and let's see if that fetch statement worked. Here under the console, no. So we've got this weird error, uncaught and promised syntax error, JSON parse, unexpected character. So the first thing I would do when I encountered this is check what happens if I go to this in the browser. So I'm just going to paste in that API URL and see what happens. And it's thinking, oh, it says unauthorized. Oh, right. I got to put in that authorization. That's why it's not working. It's not giving me back JSON because I'm not authorized yet. All right. So what you have to do to allow authorization to happen is you have to add a second parameter to this fetch call. So the first parameter is going to be the URL you're fetching from. The second parameter is going to be an object that happens when it initializes the call. So here you can even see that VS Code is hinting that I can put in an init object here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Inside this object, I want to say what the header is. I know the word header is what I want because when I looked at make authorized calls, it said I need an authorization header and it needed to look like this. This was the kind of token it needed to look like. I did some Googling earlier and figured out how to do this. And the way that I did it was I was just saying, like fetch use authorization header. And what I came to was this headers property inside of fetch. So I'm just going to copy and paste this right on over. I don't need to save this because this is going to be in my real JavaScript here in just a moment. And let me explain to you what's going on here. The first sort of parameter in headers here is content type. And that's saying what kind of content I should expect back from this API. We're expecting JSON, so that's perfect. The second is authorization, and this one's the really key one here. So when we went over and we looked at make authorized calls in the API documentation, this authorization, bearer space plus the token is what the API wants. That's the kind of header it wants. So here, I'm going to say this is an authorization type header. And then here, I'm going to say bearer space and then process.env.oauth token. Cool, right? So now you can see how I can start to show you some of this without compromising my security, right? In my application. So I'm going to run this and see how this does. And if all goes well, we should see something in the console. Let's take a look. Inspect element. Check this out underneath my errors. Object result true. Items. Excellent! Look at this. You can see all of my collections here, including the design and interactive experiences one. And this is how I can start to get some of that information that I need to make more complex API calls. So here's the ID for that. So what I can do now is, if I want, I can go get a single collection and see what that looks like. Let me see what else I can get from here. I can get access. That's interesting. Oh, there's a creator reference, so it even credits me, right? It can give me the title, the user. It doesn't give me the actual items in it though. So that's something that I need to make a different call for. So what I have here is I have an ID. I've got an ID I know I can work with. And if I was doing this in a more dynamic way, if I wanted to say, choose what collections I want my items to come from, I could go through and loop through and get all the IDs and then make a little list that users could check off for what they want. But I'm going to keep it simple here. I want to just get the ones for my design and interactive experiences class. So here I'm going to console.log data. And I'm just going to actually grab my ID here and just kind of make a comment down here so I remember. And now I'm going to see what other methods I have available to myself to go get information. I think I want raindrops because I want to be getting all the raindrops from a collection. So I'm going to pop around in here and see what I can do. I've got an option to do a single raindrop or multiple raindrops. I think I want multiple raindrops. That sounds like the way to go. And ideally, here we've got perfect, a collection ID. That's the exact parameter I want to get. Okay, cool. So here we've got API, raindrop.io, v1, raindrops/collection ID. So this is a different endpoint. This is a different place for me to get information. So now when I go into my fetch here, I'm just going to replace that URL for collections with raindrops. And I'm going to use this ID up here. And now, if all has gone well, I should see a list of all of my bookmarks from that collection. Okay, so let's check this out. Inspect element, head to the console. Oh, cool! 25 items. Oh, and look at this. Okay, so now I'm going through this object and I'm just seeing what's in here. And I've got, check this out. I've got my tags. I've got my title, 1 human heartbeat. I've got all kinds of stuff. I feel like I have more bookmarks in this though. So I wonder if there's a default number I'm getting. Ooh, look, here's a per page parameter. So I wonder if I can get more per page. Paging, when you're going and requesting data, usually means the maximum amount of items you can get back from the API in one single call. So I bet this 25 limit is the kind of limit that it's giving me because of that. Oh, and here we go. How many raindrops per page? 50 max. So that's really good to know. Let's see what happens if I add a parameter per page equals 50. So to add a parameter to a URL, you add a question mark, the parameter name, per page, and then equals, and then 50. Let's see what that gives us back. And if I get all 50, then I'll know that I have more than 50 bookmarks, and I've got some thinking to do on how to do the next part. Okay, cool. So I've got 50 items. Awesome. And I'm pretty sure that I have more than 50 bookmarks. So that's going to be interesting. I'm not sure how to deal with that yet, but I'm going to find out. All right, so we've got our data fetching. Why don't we, as kind of the last piece of this video, why don't we get this logging out first to the console, and then why don't I just get a list of these in index.html? All right, so I need to rewrite this a little bit differently. Give me just a moment. I want to try something. Cool, it worked. Okay, let me show you what I tried. So I was curious if with arrow functions, I could do more than one line at a time. And I thought, okay, maybe I was just missing something here in my earlier tutorials. Maybe I just need some curly braces around it to say this is the block of code that needs to run. So I put in the curly braces, hit enter, add in my console.log data. But now I'm going to say console.log hello. And I'm going to try running this. And you can see nothing broke. Everything's still fine. If I go to inspect element, I've got hello in here. So look, I can now write multiple statements in here. So I was going to rewrite this to the older function syntax, but you know what? I'm just going to keep with an arrow function here just because it's nice and natural. So just remember that this is the same as a normal function. You could rewrite this as function, parentheses, data, and then curly braces and do that whole thing if you wanted. But I'm going to go with this because I should be learning the new syntax. You know what I mean? I'm a professional. All right, so I was console logging the data. I need to write a for loop because I want to start by just writing the name out to the console, each of the console. So I'm going to, at the same time, try a new syntax for loops as well. There's a more recent syntax than what we've been talking about. So the way that it works is you do for and then const, and then whatever you want, the name you want to work with in the array to be. So I'm going to say const bookmark. It's kind of like your piece in the array. This is an array of bookmarks. So const bookmark of book, actually it's not bookmarks, it's data. So in this data, each data piece is a bookmark. Let's console.log bookmark. And then I'm going to refer to my console just for a moment to see what my data looks like here. So inside each of these objects, oh, you know what? It's data.items. That's a good catch. Data.items. Maybe I should just do item just to keep it consistent. Okay, so hopping back to my console, here's an object and I want object.title. Okay, item.title. And if I've got this right, fingers crossed, this will, let me take out the console.log data. This should just spit out a big old log of each of my bookmarks. Cool. Okay. All right. This is looking great. Excellent. Okay, so I think I want to keep this console.log data just so that I can see what the data structure looks like as I'm continuing to work through this. But we got some cool stuff going here. We figured out how to fetch data from the raindrops.io API. We figured out how to use authorization in a fetch call. And then we figured out some new syntax, some more up-to-date syntax to work with arrow functions. We got to play with those a little bit. And then a new syntax for for loops that's a little bit simpler if you're just working with an array. So I think this is a good time to stop, take a brain break. And next, we're going to figure out how to get these onto the page. I'll see you in just a moment.